was meant to age, lead his daughter down the aisle, and give one more smile on stage. However, instead, in solitude, Malcolm Jamal Warner was laid to rest, and now there is no more silence. A mother in mourning, a shaky voice, and a USB disc. That shouldn't have been there were the first things that happened. With the last piece of evidence that would make all the difference, Pamela Warner stood in front of the world, broken but unflinching. Her voice, her hands trembling with truth, and her eyes swollen from years of crying. A man was just arrested because of that voice, because Bill Cosby is handcuffed today. Furthermore, Malcolm's passing is no longer regarded as an accident. Pamela's tear-stained confession was seen by everyone. They heard her utter the words that no mother ought to have to utter. He did not drown. The same engine that buried the courageous and shielded monsters overwhelmed him in power and silence. The papers were authentic. The recordings were authentic. The most genuine aspect of it was the anguish. A scary note, a final video, and a Tiwit's secret folder. Allow the water to remove it. They didn't rely on a mother's passion, but they believed they could destroy him. The apparatus that attempted to keep Malcolm quiet is now breaking down. This goes beyond a simple scandal. It's a wake-up call, a war cry, and grief. Bill Cosby has been taken into custody. However, the true tale is only getting started, because Malcolm failed to say farewell. He left a task behind. His truth is now blaring through all of the screens. The world never anticipated that moment. A swarm of flashing lights outside the federal courtroom in Los Angeles. Reporters are pressing over barriers. In the street, fans are crying. Slowly approaching is a black SUV. Afterward, the door opens. With federal officers at his sides, Bill Cosby remained silent and expressionless. This sequence wasn't from a movie. This was not a fantasy. It was occurring, and it was genuine. Rumors, whispers, and conspiracy threads circulated for years, but no one ever imagined it would get to this point. It wasn't until Pamela Warner declared, "He killed my son." Her voice was not performatively painful. There was no script. It was uncooked. It weighed a lot. And it included all of a mother's sorrow, weaponized by reality. She had no desire for vengeance. Justice was what she sought. Not only for Malcolm, but for all the voices that had hitherto been muffled by neatly drafted NDAs and Hollywood smiles. And now, there was no more silence. Malcolm Jamal Warner was regarded by the Globe as the beating heart of a generation. Theo Huxtable's soul, the boy who grew up on screen, was a man whose laughter used to fill millions of homes. But that laughter stopped on July 20th, 2025. According to the official report, he drowned. A stroll on the beach in the twilight during a tranquil Costa Rican holiday. No indications of foul play, no observers. The case is over, or so they believed. Mothers, however, never forget. Not the tone of their child's most recent phone conversation. Not the apprehension in his tone. Not the mysterious words he uttered. "Tell the world I wasn't lying, Mom, if something were to happen to me." Something about the tale never felt right, so Pamela Warner was never able to move on. She then discovered the USB concealed in Malcolm's old winter coat's inner pocket, unopened and still sealed. There are 5 scary sentences on the envelope. "If something were to happen to me." As she connected it, her hands shook. She gasped as the files were opened, and everything fell apart for her. A digital archive of horror. Private memos, call logs, secret recordings, wire transfers, NDAs signed by influential people, and a folder named simply Shadow Network were all contained on the device. And Bill Cosby's name kept coming up, highlighted, circled, and repeated in every transcript, document, and thread. At first, it didn't make sense. Not to the public, not to Pamela. Why would a once-adored TV personality be connected to her son's passing, but then the voice of Malcolm in the video, not from an interview or a show, would be used? This was not like the others. He was by himself, his voice low, his face haggard, and his eyes tired. "I didn't make it if you're viewing this. Perhaps someone ensured that I wouldn't." He described a network, a system, and a silent machine that were designed to eliminate anyone who knew too much as well as to conceal misuse. "They don't just silence you, they erase you," he continued. "They alter your narrative. Make sure that nobody even questions what actually transpired." Pamela collapsed on the ground. She was aware at that very time that her son had not perished in an accident. She had the evidence that he had been eliminated. She brought it directly to the Justice Department. The records, the data, the videos, everything. For weeks, she waited. Nothing. Then her phone chimed one evening. A single message. Unknown number. Look at the news. Banner for breaking news. Every important outlet. The DOJ affirms the federal investigation into the death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. However, the headline that went viral on the internet stated that Bill Cosby was being investigated by the authorities in relation to the Warner case. A federal warrant was issued in less than 48 hours. Bill Cosby was taken into prison in '72. Pamela was in her living room watching the coverage. Just tears, no celebration, no victory speech. After years of silence, someone finally listened. At last, her son was spotted. Supporters gathered outside the courthouse. Paintings, posters, and candles. According to one, he didn't drown, he drowned. The USB footage had started to surface. Online, snippets of Malcolm's farewell speech were going viral. There were whistleblowers, legal aid, former studio employees, and even a late-night producer. The country was chilled by one voicemail. We were instructed not to interfere with his filming. He knew he had evidence, but we were instructed to let it go. He was also preparing to go public. Furthermore, Pamela Warner was more than just a distraught mother. She represented a movement. Her name was in every headline. Her statements were cited in each interview. Her truth was echoed by every voice. He didn't simply pass away. He vanished. And until the world finds out who did it, I won't give up. The world paid attention, because the device that had previously hushed victims was now being attacked. The guy who was once referred to as America's father was at the heart of it, being referred to as something far darker now. Cosby's attorneys hurried. Reporters were ghosted by PR firms. The executives fell silent. Social media was cleaned. However, it was too late. The documents were available. The people knew the truth. And a mother's love has just revealed the system that had formerly shielded predators. They believed that by murdering the messenger, they might destroy the message. Pamela, however, did more than only spread the word. She struck the match that destroyed their entire lie-filled home. Bill Cosby is currently under arrest. Furthermore, Malcolm's narrative is only getting started. They believed it was finished. Pamela Warner's disappearance. That the commotion would stop. That in a week, this will just be another viral event. This was more than just noise, though. A mother's cry reverberated throughout a fractured globe. There was proof behind that cry that was so explosive it might bring down entire empires. The whole Hollywood industry was rocked by Bill Cosby's arrest. However, it was only the start. Because the world finally saw the monster behind the mask when the DOJ opened the first evidence vault from what is now known as the Warner Archive, and nobody was prepared. It began with a confidential, internal-use-only memo, dated June 18th, 2025, 2 days prior to Malcolm's passing. Subject: containment of crises. The Warner issue is getting worse. Within, officials outlined detailed plans to discredit Malcolm before he could address the public. If containment fails, redirect through tragedy, was one spooky sentence. The water is still a good sight. Metaphor wasn't used. It was murder disguised as journalistic jargon. Furthermore, the memo wasn't by itself. Dozens of audio files were present. Malcolm recorded voice notes, phone conversations, and meeting recordings while he was digging. He's not a kid anymore, a network official states during one call. He's intelligent. He is observing trends. We will all be **** edition if he releases what he has. Let's make sure he doesn't, after another voice responds. Then came the video that broke Pamela, known as Piece 7, which was a concealed camera feed. Unmistakable, shaky, and poorly illuminated. Malcolm is scanning through documents in his home office. He is clearly nervous, stares into the webcam, and inhales deeply. Even though I shouldn't be recording anything, nobody will believe me if I don't. Not even my mother. He takes a voice recorder in his hand. He murmurs, "Tonight they gave me a call. I'm risking everything," they said. "However, what should I do? Remain silent? give them the victory. A knock on the door followed. The video cuts when Malcolm flinches, freezes, and switches off the camera. After that night, Pamela claimed she never saw him again. Social media was ablaze with grief as well as rage. Sadness because we were unaware of Malcolm's suffering, that a man was being pursued behind each red carpet grin. Within 48 hours, the hashtag #JoshJusticeFormal received 10 million usages. Protests broke out in Toronto, New York, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. On Sunset Boulevard, there is graffiti. He did not drown. He was kept quiet. Overnight, murals appeared. Malcolm's expression next to the phrase, "They deleted him." We recall. Even famous people who had previously kept quiet were suddenly speaking up. A famous sitcom star made a post. He warned me that a significant event was imminent. I didn't pay attention. I ought to have. Another ex-castmate broke down in tears as he said he attempted to warn us. He did. As everything was going on, the DOJ dug deeper and discovered more sinister information than anyone had anticipated. A 32-page guide explaining how to remove someone without touching them was included in a file called the Silence Machine version 2.0, Comprehensive Instructions. Make up a scandal. Rumors about plant mental health. Real stories can be buried by using Clip 8 News. Requests for a delayed FOIA. Reward the local cops. Make settlements available to survivors. Cosby wasn't being protected by a single individual. It was a financially supported, lawyer-run, and fear-based system. Moreover, Malcolm would plotted it out, hacked into it, and was prepared to destroy it. However, he was approached first. The second leak followed. One of the networks listed in Malcolm's files provided this information, not the DOJ. A hard disk. There is just a folder named Buried, with no name or return address. It contained a risk assessment from Cosby's former PR firm, emails, and transcripts. The worst-case scenario was described in one document. The mitigating protocol should be activated if Warner publishes. Observe motions. Contingency plans are in place in case extraction fails. That term once more. Backup plans. A sterile term for something lethal. Holding her son's hoodie, Pamela read it 17 times while whispering, "They planned it. They planned everything, my God." In court, Cosby's attorneys referred to the documents as doctored. They held hackers accountable. It was referred to as a smear effort by a distraught mother. Malcolm recorded the voice memo without realizing. The microphone was still on, but it came later. He's talking to himself, breathing heavily, and walking in it. Then they answered, "I have an option. He lives quietly, talk, and well, we're here." He gives a laugh. "It's not working. I no longer feel afraid. I'm simply exhausted, but I won't be there." Stillness. Pamela just included one caption when she uploaded the video. "My son did not drown. Silence, money, and monsters drowned him." And suddenly the nation was paying attention. Senators demanded that Congress look at it. There was a special counsel assigned. Networks started internal inquiries. According to federal authorities, Bill Cosby's arrest was only the start. However, Pamela wasn't finished. She published one last composition, Malcolm's letter to her. "If you're reading this, it means I didn't make it," it said. "I know you'll fight, though, and I know the truth will outlive me, so it's okay. Mom, you have my love. Don't allow them to destroy me." She always has that letter on her person. Folded, torn, and worn, yet strong. In a world where Cosby formerly controlled the screen, his mugshot is currently the most widely shared picture on the internet. He faces the reality while incarcerated, in addition to a slew of charges. Using quiet, he attempted to conceal the same fact. Malcolm didn't survive to witness this moment. However, everything that he left behind made it feasible. Since he was more than just an actor in the end. He was a son who witnessed evil and refused to close his eyes, a truth teller and a whistleblower. And the mother who gave birth to him took on the role of the voice he never had. This is not merely a tale. It is a revolution. The silent industry is on the verge of collapse. It's also a reminder. You cannot destroy the message, only the messenger. The courtroom remained quiet, the kind of silence that seems like a stone pressing down on your chest, rather than one that gives calm. Such as the kind that shouts silently. With his shoulders Tight and his face blank, Bill Cosby sat at the defense table surrounded by attorneys who no longer exuded confidence, but rather fear. Holding the folded note her son left behind, Pamela Warner stood with her head held high across the room. This was a reckoning, not only a trial, and everyone was watching. Inside, cameras were not permitted. However, the events that transpired in that courtroom were soon revealed. Witness after witness came forward. Studio editors, retired executives, and former assistants. At last, everyone is taking a step forward. The same reality is being echoed by many. We were instructed not to speak. We received payment to forget. They were aware that he knew too much. The last blow was delivered by an unexpected man, a former bodyguard, Cosby's own. As he testified, his voice wavered. My task was to keep an eye on Malcolm, to track him, not for his safety. At first, I didn't know why, but on the day of his death, I did. I received a call. Just one sentence. Get down. It is managed. Gasps could be heard across the courtroom. The judge appeared unmoving as well. Cosby was silent the entire time because he was at a loss for words. All of Malcolm's fears and the information he had recorded were now being expressed aloud, and nobody could stop it. People were waiting outside with signs and candles. Some people cried. Malcolm's picture was held up by several. Others simply stood silently. Finally, there was a meaningful silence. Millions of people watched for updates online. Were popular once more. Formal justice. The machine was tumbling, but nobody was prepared for what was about to happen. Did he drown? An additional hard disk. Pamela had yet to share it. She was keeping it for herself. For the benefit of the public, not the legal system or the press. This drive revealed more than simply names. The system was made public. It contained meeting transcripts, surveillance footage, and agreements between law enforcement and networks. Stamped. Documents provide more than just internal information, and at its core is a comprehensive operational map of the ECHO protocol. Their last line of defense was a digital kill button that would forever silence anyone who spoke up and destroy the reputation of any accused celebrities. Malcolm had gradually put it all together, file by file, and he had kept it concealed for his mother, not for himself. Now she was prepared to reveal it to the world. She uploaded everything. Every name, every plan, every file. No redactions, no filters, and no fear. The internet imploded rather than simply exploded. While on live broadcast, news anchors froze. Attorneys declined to be interviewed. Overnight, executives quit. Whole networks fell down. The names started to tumble one by one. It all began with the loudest fall, though. Bill Cosby was formally charged with conspiracy, obstruction, and accessory to murder 3 weeks after his arrest. The media attempted to distort it. Some referred to it as unprecedented. Allegedly was still used by some. However, the truth had already been expressed in Malcolm's papers, in his voice, and in the fire that Pamela would not let go. Pamela never sought notoriety. Despite her aversion to being on camera, she became a memorable figure. She only ever appeared in front of reporters once, she said, keeping Malcolm's picture to her chest. They only made his voice louder in an attempt to hush him. She then turned to go. Just the reality, no cheers or press releases. From the ashes, Malcolm's legacy started to emerge. In his honor, universities established archives. In his honor, advocacy organizations received funding. Every coast has murals painted by artists. They can kill the messenger, but not the message, he said, his face encircled by flames. Warner Way was the new name given to a street in his hometown. Additionally, the folder he originally called Shadow Network is now taught in law schools as the Hollywood case that transformed the industry. The final, unreleased, untouched footage that was stored on the second hard disk, however, was the most impactful moment. Final label, fal.mpp4. Pamela took a while to view it. She waited for justice to start after everything had calmed down. She then sat by herself one evening, lit a candle, and hit play. Malcolm showed up, calm yet exhausted. He no longer had fear in his eyes. He only gave one smile. "Hi, Mom. I suppose it's over if you're watching this?" Or perhaps it's only the beginning. He stopped and inhaled. I didn't want to be a hero, so I did not do this. Someone had to, so I did it. You've always advised me to speak up when it counts. Most. Well, this is important. He gazed directly into the camera. They attempted to keep me quiet, but I had you. I also knew you would complete the task I began. His voice broke. Mom, you are loved. I apologize, but I appreciate you having the loudest voice I've ever heard. The video came to an end. Furthermore, Pamela did not cry. You were never erased, she whispered as she closed the laptop and kissed the letter. You become a part of history. Malcolm is now regarded by the globe not just as a star, but also as a symbol and a reminder that truth hidden in quiet has the power to awaken the world. Bill Cosby is still incarcerated. However, the arrest wasn't the greater victory. It was the system's change, awakening, and exposure. That made it possible for him and numerous others to stay untouchable. The bravery of a boy and a mother's resolve to let him be forgotten caused that system to collapse. It's not over yet. This serves as a warning. Your time is finished, predators. Lying behind contracts, executives selling silence for profit, and machines based on deceit and fear. The message is louder than ever, and the hush is broken because Malcolm left behind more than just a controversy. He left a map behind. We're also keeping up with it. You are already aware that this is more than simply a story if you have read this far. It's a warning. From the grave came a scream. Malcolm Jamal Warner did not pass away quietly. Silence was the cause of his death. Because he had the courage to speak. Because he dared to speak what others could only whisper. Bill Cosby is currently incarcerated. However, do you truly believe that this is where it ends? Still breathing, still monitoring, still ready to bury the next voice that dared to speak is the machine that killed Malcolm. The one that destroyed evidence, paid for silence, and exchanged truth for contracts. Unless we put an end to it, unless we ensure that this story is not just recalled but also echoed, screamed, and repeated. Don't scroll away then. Say his name, write Malcolm's justice in the comments section, distribute this video, reflecting on it, post it again, let the quiet know that the truth has finally been heard. Should this video vanish, you'll know why. But they can't get rid of us all. If this breaks you, hit the like button to ensure you don't miss the next reality they attempt to hide. Subscribe. Additionally, activate notifications, because the next event may be even more sinister than this one. You now carry the message, even though they believed they could destroy it. Make sure they hear it, because Malcolm failed to say farewell. He left a task behind. It's yours now.